Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, looking at the opening of a version of Oedipus. This is a tricky play to precisely date. It's somewhere between 1596 and 1603. It's the latter end of the reign of Elizabeth, and it was produced at Berwick Grammar School, apparently. And it's been attributed to someone called Aristotle Knowsley, but I don't know who that is, so it doesn't really matter to me. So it's some sort of school production, and the text is an interesting mishmash. Act 1 is an original work, as say by this chap possibly, and then it just goes nicking. Quite overtly. So it then transitions mostly to a translation of Seneca's play Oedipus as translated by Alexander Neville, with bits from Thebais as translated by Thomas Newton. Now, we're only going to look at Act 1 and the very beginning of Act 2 in this session. I haven't actually figured out precisely how the text cuts up other pieces, and I haven't checked how much original material is in the rest of the play, but my suspicion is, from what I've read around this text, is that it's mostly just mixing and matching of other plays. So if you'd like to get a sense of the play overall, then what you can do is, after you finish watching this video, you can go to listen to our reading of Seneca's Oedipus, and then also the Thebais as well, which will give you all the material. And at some point we may come back to this once I've done a more thorough look at the overall text. But as this is the only, as say, really substantial original bit of work, we're going to spend this one session looking at the opening of this play. It has been transcribed for us by Helen Good, who hasn't been in that many sessions of late, but is still occasionally doing wonderful work for us in the background. Thank you, Helen. It is just a first draft of that transcription, so there may be typos and issues, and there is almost no punctuation whatsoever. So pause when you feel lucky. Is the only direction I'm going to give. So, reading today the prologue, Tipstaff 2, Oracle, Constable, and Careless is
Francis Cox, actor and voice artiste living in Amsterdam, and I do like punctuation, I have to say.
Yes, it's underrated. It's underrated. We don't rate it here very much, clearly. Reading Tipstaff number 1 and Chorus is
Alan in Suffolk, already confused.
Reading Meropa, Europhilus, Armed Knight, and Thriftless is
Emma Kemp, an actor based in London.
Reading Polybius, Crier, Sphinx, and Jocasta is
Sarah Blake, a particular fan of full stops, based in Germany.
And reading Phorbus, Maid, and Oedipus is
Aliki, Chapple, an inadequately ancient Greek.
And I'm your host, Robert Crichton. I'll be reading stage directions, what they are. We do have some interesting stage directions which are slightly tricky to read at times. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to jump into some 14ers with the prologue.
As grave and prudent orators, their audience do beseech, with patience and silence eke, to attend unto their speech. So we, your worships, humbly crave attentively to hear, and see what we shall say and do, and with our boldness bear, by tragical and pompous show, on stage we will declare the fickle state of mortal man, their wealth, their woe and care, the inconstant head of wavering Dame Fortune here I mean, her sudden interchanged face, her passing joy and pain. The just revenge and direful plagues are lively here expressed, of horrible crimes, of odious facts, of damnable unrest, wherewith the world in these our days is well near overwhelmed. God's wrath provoked, the body plagued, man's conscience tormented, and by this tragedy you shall learn, which now we have in hand, A looking glass, a lodestar bright, if it be rightly scanned, the effect whereof is this, that Laius, king of Thebes, begat a son called Oedipus, pronounced his father's bane by fate in mother's womb whilst he remained. Apollo's oracle told the little babe doubtless should kill and murder father old. The father, to prevent his death, commands the child be slain, and to a herdsman did commit the fact, this is certain, much like Priamus, king of Troy, whose wife with child did dream to have as then been brought to bed with flaming fiery stream. Affright with fear she saw quickly rose, and with what she saw she told King Priamus, and he forthwith consulted sages old, who did pronounce the parish should confusion be of Troy, which Troy and Trojans truly found when Greeks did them destroy. The herdsman with compassion moved one way for tender child, another way afraid lest king should find himself beguiled. Contented was to bore 2 holes through both the infant's feet, with pliable twigs thrust through the same for such a purpose meet. High on a tree this child hanged he by the heels, a doleful sight, whose shrieks and cries might pierce the skies or any mortal wight. Yet he less crime did count to let the child by famine starve, than playing bloody butcher's part, from human nature sworn this done, he gave as fortune would. The king of Corinthus heard passing that way, saw this child hang, which made him sore afeard to cut him down. He lapped him warm and carried him full sound, and did present unto the queen. This child perchance he found. She, having none, thought it was sent of God most marvellous. She brought him up, of his swollen feet, she named him Oedipus, who ripe in years, and hearing that he was not the king's son, purposed with speed to seek his sire, or for all that might be done. By oracle he learned where his father he should see, at Phocis, where Apollo's church was built most gorgeously. To this city he posted fast, the citizens in uproar found, and taking part with some unawares, killed his father on that ground, whose only cause of coming was quite the sedition, and there fulfilled the oracle in every part and portion, about which time the city Thebes and confines near thereto molested were with the monster Sphinx, which daily many slew. A proclamation there was made, for who could Sphinx destroy, should wed the queen, should kingdom have, and town of Thebes enjoy. He vanquished monster fierce, he wed the queen, gat children 4, for which incest, though unawares, the gods did plagued him sore. For knowing first, he slew his sire, and then his mother wed. Infested with a grievous plague, he from his kingdom fled, and fretting fury common foe, to corrupt conscience inflamed his mind with frenzy fierce. To punish his offence, as one ashamed to see man's face, he pulled out both his eyes, and but for daughter dear, had slain himself of times likewise. In the end he banished died, in basest kind of slavery, and left example of God's plagues to his posterity. His sons, like ramping lions fierce, for Thebes slew one another, so that God's vengeance still pursues incest and cruel murder. Thus you shall see the end of sin is shame and misery, as by the fall of Oedipus appear most plainly. For ne'er lived man adorned more with earthly bliss. There was no man tormented more with inward gripes than this. What glory flaring fortune could in wealth show unto man, whose royal state enjoyed it, and both thereof he can. What grief her frowning face could cause when poison darts she threw. His woeful fall did feel them all, deep drenched midst floods of woe. Mark, therefore, the whole course of this our present tragedy, and frame your lives free from such ill, for fear you feel like misery. Then shall you happy counted be, whom others' harms do make wary. This is the same I have to say, my pageant now is played. God grant we may your minds well pleased, that here so long have stayed.
And thus ends the prologue. Well, we don't need to see the play. We know what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the entire plot in a nutshell. I was expecting that to be utterly unreadable, and that flowed perfectly well. I mean, it's very schematic, very well done, Francis, because you have literally no punctuation, so you have no idea whether the sentences are run on or not. But you actually made that flow really nicely. And I say, I think actually on the whole, if you're going to sum up Oedipus in 14ers, that's not a bad job actually. There's considerably worse in some of the actual Seneca translations that sometimes appear. Interesting detail. I don't know if Aliki may know more on this. But I don't recall Oedipus being hung from a tree by his feet. That's a new little detail to me.
Yeah.
I don't bring any particular special knowledge to this. I don't remember the tree either. Just the soul and feet.
It sounded familiar to. I don't remember it from the Sophocles version, but it sounded familiar. And I don't know why. So maybe it's been borrowed from some other play.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there is no absolute version of any of these myths. But that's just an interesting variation. I don't know where it came from. Is this original to this author, or is there a version somewhere that features this? That's just an interesting little detail. But yeah, we get all the plot, all the stuff there. Francis.
Yeah, I found the sort of digression into the Trojan legends a bit. While I was reading, I think, what's this? Suddenly we're in the Trojan legends, and then suddenly we're back to Thebes and Oedipus. It was a bit odd to me. Reading.
Yes, much like to Primus, King of Troy. Just pointing out that some of these myths are a bit like the others.
Yeah, I suppose. But I found
it does come sort of before we've got into the plot, though, isn't it? It's sort of like it's throwing in a reference before we're quite grounded.
Yeah, it was pretty cumbersome, I thought.
But okay. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll get into some dramatic action. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, Sarah put a thought in about there is the possible crossover with the Odin story, because he does get hung from a tree, I'm pretty sure. But how far Norse myth would have been known to people at that time is a moot point.
It's an interesting guess. I don't know how far those sort of mythologies are still banging about in.
Well, I suppose with Berwick, you are actually closer to it than many of us.
Okay, let's go into Act 1 then. Let's find out what's going on. Act 1, well, we know what's going on. Let's find out how it's going to appear on stage. Act 1, Scene 1, enter Phorbus.
Oh God, and Our Lady and St. John and good St. Modwin, grant no thieves have stolen my beasts away, which oft these woods do haunt, or they that rouse the bristling boar from out his drowsy den, or have the bouncing buck in chase, have gotten none of them. A cow and a heifer both are gone. The breeze hath sent the packing. Unless I find them both again, I may as well go a-begging. The cow whole flecked is besides. On her these marks doth bear, 3 of her feet be white, a new lap is on the nearer ear. The heifer partly branded is, 2 years old come June, a slit of the far ear, head white, white list her back about, the thickets, brambles, bogs, and mires throughout the woods I sought, no good I got, but labour lost. Of them I hear not aught, yet still I'll seek.
In seeking, he speaks thus to himself.
There was a halt king and a blind queen. They got a lame son, and he would go sometimes, ride perchance to the 9 ends of the new world to seek his fortune. When he was there, he was met with a poor pilgrim, alas, which gave him good puddings, and to draw down the good, sweet, black motes in them, reached some swillings. God give you good morrow. My mother's mare is brought a bed of a fine filly, which is the highway to Banbury, beans, and the new butter. Oh, he climb up a thistle tree, and cut down a hazel twig, and with the bark thereof break his head till it was whole, and then flew home without feathers, and wise as a woodcock. You think this tale very true, and well deserves a water pot. What's this to the purpose? It is never dry speech when there runneth syrup fast down, and breach these craggy rocks and hollies thick, some comfort may be bring. But stay, hark well. Methinks I hear a sudden voice crying, "Where wing," quoth the huntsman, "last day to bowman this hound? In amaze as a deer I stand at the smell of an apple new found. O Dryades, O Satyres fierce, O Pan, the prince of herds, a child I see fast tied to tree, hanging amongst the herbs."
Take the child down, and look well upon him.
I'll take him down. A good sweet babe! What tiger's heart has he that bored thy feet with iron sharp and hanged thee on a tree? The world turns westward and declines, now men more froward be than heretofore. The longer it lasts, the less good men we see.
Bless the child with your 2 fingers.
The sun, the moon, and 7 stars, united in an unity, prefer and keep this pretty boy, and bless him with their trinity. What shall I do? Whither shall I wend? My beasts I cannot find. To present now this jolly child to stately queen I mind. I'll lap him close within my cloak, no wind shall him annoy. Would Meg, my wife, for all our strife, could bring me such a boy.
Here the child cries, and he sings, "Be baby be," and says,
3 things appease displeased babes, as ofttimes I have heard: the pap to feed, the voice to still, the arm to move, and guard them all from all ill. To last I'll use. The first my wife shall do. The meantime I will still the child, before I come her to. Oh, alas, alas, he cries again, and I will sing him still again.
And here in the manuscript, I think there is actually the musical notation is given for this actual song, but we don't have it here. But there is evidence for what is supposed to actually be sung.
Be, baby, be, 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 my little sweet baby.
The song he sings, dandling the child with music.
My heart and my joy sing lullaby, lullaby. In beauty surpassing Duke Paris of Troy, sing lully, lully, lullaby. Now peace, child, and cease, child, my pretty fine boy. Sing lullaby, lully, the gods guide and save thee from cruel annoy. Sing lully, 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 sweet honey, 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 fair baby, lullaby, lully. Thy parents, sweet infant, to me are unknown. Sing lullaby, lully. I wot not who left thee in woods here alone. Sing lullaby, lully. For the little infant I make now great moan. Sing lullaby, lully. Whose bloody plaints make me to sorrow and groan. Sing lullaby. Sweet honey, daddy's pig's knee fair. Mammy's coney.
Exit. Okay, I loved that scene. I thought that was absolutely delightful. You've got a real sense of character. That little bit, that sense of just backwards, and it's nowhere. You don't get this. You don't get this in Greek tragedy or Roman interpolations of it. This is totally. I mean, it's very out of sort of mystery plays, the kind of thing you would expect the shepherds to do in the shepherds to various shepherds plays. I adored that. Alan,
I must admit the bit that had me laughing was the bit at the beginning, which was the police identity report on the two missing cattle.
You can see that working so well with an audience. Like,
Oh,
have
God.
you seen my cow? It looks like this.
and of course, as
It's
all,
behind you.
and of course, as all ancient Greeks do, they always swear by Our Lady and St. John.
Yeah.
And it's the clown thing. It's the clown thing of the clown is slightly out of sync with the rest of the universe. I thought it was so well done. And then you get a song. And a baby hanging from a tree, which I suppose, regardless of whether it comes from other sources, is a very straightforward staging thing that you could do for however they staged it. It means the baby's got a good line of sight to see whatever prop you're using. Whereas, if it's sort of pegged to the ground or something like that, which is just left, it's not. The audience wouldn't see it. Okay, if it is by Aristotle, I'm going well done so far. Well done. I'm it's not feeling very tragic, but I'm enjoying it. Any other thoughts? Aliki, then Francis.
I just really like the lullaby, which seems fairly traditional with all that lully stuff, and then keeps breaking into describing what's actually happening, which I can attest. When you've got a crying baby, you do end up doing.
Francis.
Yeah, in terms of staging, I mean, the lullaby could be a very sweet, affecting moment in a production, I felt. But I had to laugh at the whole bit about he was trying to protect the baby from the wind, and I was sitting there thinking, he's just had his hands and his feet pierced with iron. He's not going to worry about a bit of wind.
Oh, I don't know.
Just his feet. He's Oedipus, not Jesus.
Just his feet. Sorry. Yeah, I am getting mixed up with Jesus. You're right.
I think, to be fair, the shepherds are getting him a bit confused as well. So he does call on the Trinity at one point. So, I mean, okay, it's the sun, the moon, and the stars as a Trinity, but you get the feeling that there's some weird muddling here going on. Okay, let's gather some more data. Unless there's other thoughts in the room, I think we're moderately in agreement here with the text so far. So, Act 1, Scene 2, the trumpet. 2 tipstaves come in before the king.
Room, my masters make, the king and queen be coming here. They mind to walk the fields abroad, to take the open air.
Polybius, king of Corinth, or Polybius, sorry, as this text has him. Polybius, king of Corinth, and his wife, Meropa, enter. Let him sit in a chair.
The gods that sway the golden globe have given us many years. A kingdom great in pomp and power, we far surpass our peers of Greece. The light Corinth is called, where princely palace stands, so that to perfect happiness we want no wealth nor lands. Yet one thing wherein the fruit of all my labours rest, the staff of all my age and life, the riches I count best. Children, I mean, by whom we are, as it were, born anew, budding even after death by springing of our issue, which canoneth our memory with everlasting fame, by durance of our stock and seed, enlarging still the same, which only stop in good success, is as it were a jar in music sweet, or pricking herb that pleasant flowers mar. But up to heaven I heave my hands, and humbly often pray that offspring to enjoy this realm behind me leave I may.
What fate affords full welcome is, that if the gods would send a prince to enjoy this kingdom large, happy might be our end. For goods of fortune, gifts of mind, and beauty's grace we have, but children we have none. God wot which we do daily crave.
Nor like to have, as I do judge, unless by adoption, which many kings have oft time is used in every nation.
Then linger not too long, delays are very dangerous. Some noble gallant gentleman choose to be heir to us.
On this I will deliberate, and choose of many one, whom I shall think in martial powers to prove a paragon.
Phorbus entereth with the child in his arms.
A pretty boy, a jolly lad, how sweetly doth it smile. Alack, we'll go to court, and tarry there a while, till time our noble queen come forth. For walking she doth use this goodly babe of me to take. I hope she'll not refuse. But stay, I see both king and queen. They're come already out.
Come near, Phorbus. What is the cause that make thee thus to doubt? What bringst thou here? You speak so fair, and lappest up so warm. Is any of thy children hurt, or have they got some harm?
Nay, gracious queen, this is not mine, but one by chance I found, whose shrieks and cries for pinching pain throughout the woods did sound, as I was seeking beasts I lost. I saw him hanged on tree, 2 twigs thrust through his tender feet, a bloody sight to see. My heart for pity bled, his plaints all gored with blood to see. I brought him home, and do present this child, our queen, to thee.
Let the queen take the child and view it well.
What tiger fierce, what devilish dame could suffer such a child to be cast out amongst wild beasts, with blood thus to be filed?
Show the babe to the king.
Behold, O king, a goodly babe of God by miracle sent to us. I will him keep, and of his feet will call him Oedipus.
What's she so careless of her child that would have it forlorn, like brutish serpent that kills her brood as soon as it is born? No child we have, this shall be ours, our heir we will him make. If he proves well and stout of heart, we'll never him forsake. A nurse provide, Meropa mine, of good complexion, spare for no cost, but look she be of honest condition.
Your will shall be fulfilled thereof. Polybius, take no care, both what she is and how she lives, doubt not I will beware. Here, maid, now carry in this child, see you it take no harm.
She gives the child to the maid.
An it please your grace, within my gown I will lap it up full warm, and as the apple of mine eye I'll save from all annoy, till time your grace hath got a nurse to nurse the pretty boy.
But that the sooner this be done, and bloody babe made clean, if you so please, I would we here no longer did remain. And for thy pains, lo, Phorbus, here, £10 I do thee give. What pleasure else we may thee show thou shalt have whilst we live.
And exeunt the king and queen.
Give way to princes, you that stand the passages about. Will you not stir? Away, away, dispatch. Hence get you out.
And Phorbus, let him look well upon the gold. This should be said before the tipstaff speak.
God save your grace, God send me luck 10 times a day to find such babes as these, which well will please, I am sure, my wife's mind.
And the trumpet. leads us into the chorus.
That God which ravens feed, young infants saves from all annoy, though cast in danger great of savage beasts or stormy raging waves, which either gulp them up or them do eat. But Oedipus late hanged in great distress, past hope of health by hap found out redress. This sucking babe, which herdmen found in woods, was well received, brought up and princely trained, a prince's cost, who spared no gold nor goods. But royally this child was still maintained, until he came to manly state and years, wherein he did surpass all his compeers. Of children, trained in the blossoms find, to us a shore of powers fair and sweet, for that the buds of private discipline, the beauty be of policy most meet. A good beginning oft doth bring good and end, a tender wit to wisdom soon doth bend. Both nature's gifts and virtue's grace in him, it was timely seen, which now his parents love. His towardness grace hope to king did bring, his pregnant wit the queen eftsoons did move. So that the proverb now in him was born, youth doth it prick that will be a thorn. Gallant youth, a princely paragon, as wise and stout as tender years can yield. In all the court there is not such a one, for wit in words, for valiantness in field. But here the person whom I praise doth come, accompanied with a nobleman's son.
And that closes that scene there. So, I'm still rather enjoying this. I mean, just remember, everyone, that little baby gonna have eyes gouged out. Just to bring you down if you're in a happy place, because we can't let you stay there for too long. Yeah, I mean, it does feel like a school play, and that's fine. You know, if it's designed for a school play, then it feels absolutely on that level. It bounces along very nicely. It tells the story it's trying to tell. It's subtle as a brick, but it's quite pleasingly put together. I'm really still enjoying this. Alan.
I must admit there were bits in there, some of the descriptive bits. I was almost hearing the Stan Holloway Northerner monologues in my head, because it's the same sort of style of rhythm and use of words, and there's some lovely use of language in it.
It's
some beautiful word pictures.
It's doing a lovely job of telling the story. I know exactly what's going on. It's quite sweet in its own weird way. And you know, everyone's cares, and we're getting useful stage direction. I mean, well, almost all useful stage direction. I do find this should be said before the Tipstaff speak is not very helpful. just put the speech before this bit then.
Yeah.
Just putting a little arrow there to move that around. But and even the chorus, I quite like the chorus, because the chorus is there doing a business of moving the story on. And now the child has grown up. Whatever swaddling clothes is used for the baby is something he wears around his neck as a neckerchief or something to, you know, that kind of thing. We've all been there. We've all done it. Don't lie. Other thoughts? It's difficult to do sort of lengthy textual analysis for a tale that is wafer thin, but yeah, it's bouncing along. Any thoughts? No, don't worry, it gets worse for Oedipus, obviously. Okay, Act 1, Scene 3. Oedipus and Europhilus enter. They come in chiding, and in the door say,
To use such play, it is a shame.
Charge me, sir, you are to blame.
Thy foul play I cannot digest. Thy dice be false, I swear.
My play is fair, the dice be true. I will not thee forbear.
Thou liest, for with langrets and flats, and with stopped dice thou plays, a pair of blanks brought, and like a slave-barred quarter trays.
Slave them thou kept, sir knave. These kind of dice I never used. Thou wilt me play, I did not thee, thou mightst at first refused.
Gog's wounds, doth thou no more account of the king's son now make?
Bait there and ace, for such a son the king may soon forsake.
Oh, forsake! Am I not prince and heir apparent to the king?
If so as thou art not, yet would I thee forbear nothing. But proverb old proves true. The poorer brat, the prouder mind, and by thy lofty looks, thy brags and boasting speech, I find noble thou challengest by blood to be. Yet shall you hang like a blast amongst the fair blossoms on tree, unless virtue thou hast. It is not the descent of birth, and boast them what thou can, but the consent of conditions that make a gentleman. Not manners great, but manners good, true nobleness do make. Thou want'st the one, the other some, our king may from you take. Some copper coin is stamped all o'er with gold, yet is not lawful. Of fish as well comes poison as oil, yet nothing healthful. For as the water that does spring from boiling fountain fair, and floweth into channel foul, is not to be called clear, because it came of the same stream, so neither boast he can that's noble born without noble deeds to be a gentleman. Right gentlemen be sooner seen by virtues which they use, than blazing of the arms abroad, which at some idiots muse. By birth I pass, thy friends and stock, unknown to king and queen. The herdman knows who saved thy life, of foundling thou hast been. Ulysses' works I wish thou wouldst, by deeds rather declare, than like Ajax to boost with words, for which I little care.
And Oedipus gives him a box on the ear.
I'll cause thee care, thou princox proud. My works and words shall agree. Draw, villain, now. Defend thyself, or I'll revenged be.
They both draw.
Thou shalt well find before we part. I am not afraid of thee, for chance of fight still doubtful hangs, and hard it is to know who carry shall the victory, thou or thy vowed foe. Mars to no party tide is, what he decrees shall be. As chance allots, so falls it out. This done, abideth free. Sword, hope, and fear make equal those between whom otherwise great odds there is. Blind fortune's lot the case between them tries. The rush attempt with crime begun gropes after doubtful gain, and fond denies enterprise, oft reap deserved pain.
They fight a little. The scene actually continues, but is broken up as Act 1, Scene 4 coming up. But I think we should just take on some of this. This is really interesting. This is more subtle than at first look it appears. It's giving us a little introduction to Oedipus's temper and character. We've got a character talking to him about, okay, you want to be king? You need to, show some kingliness, because you're not really doing that at the moment. And it's all starting from this quarrel about some gambling, basically, and he's accusing Europhilus of cheating, of having fake dice, weighted dice. So it's quite a nice introduction to the character, actually. I do think this is done quite well. Because, we know, because we've just been told by the prologue, but also because we know that he's going to lose his temper later on and murder his father. And so this is a nice prefiguring of that. I think this is actually really, really quite clever. I like this. I did find myself slightly lost in some of Europhilus's phrasing and what he was actually talking about, especially towards the end of some of those speeches. Especially it's the middle of a fight. He seems to be discoursing. I will fight you, but first I will do some philosophy.
I must admit, I was getting the impression that these were primary school kids, and about the only line that was missing was "My dad's bigger than your dad."
Well, yeah, there is a bit of my dad's the king, and he's got going, yeah, it's not quite enough, is it? Emma, you had some naughty thoughts there to wrangle. How are you finding this?
Yeah, no, I'm loving the flow of it. I just didn't quite get all of it. Just so at the end, he's talking about about Oedipus being a foundling. So Oedipus knows from the start that he's adopted, or this isn't his friend like revealing that to him, is it?
It might be that that's what he's doing here. Again, prefiguring, because he won't. I don't think he knows at this point. You know, he grows up not knowing that. I think he's supposed to discover it later on, but maybe you know what kids are like. There's people say things and he just ignores it because it's just slander to him. So yeah, I like that as an idea. Again, this prefiguring of things that we know are going to happen. Okay, any other thoughts? No. Okay, let's dive into the continuation of the scene. They're fighting a little. Act 1, Scene 4. Polybius, Meropa, and Tipstaff enter.
Oh, here's a phrase, and please your grace.
A happy time, the king in place.
Stay, son, what wilt thou do? I charge thee, varlet, hold thy hand. Wilt thou so rashly venture life that must enjoy this land?
Let Europhilus run away and leave his cloak and weapons behind him.
I'll rather venture life, O king, than suffer this disgrace. And it be true that he affirms, full soon I'll leave this place.
Son, pacify thyself. Show me the grief. Declare thy wrong. I'll help you to revenge that injury ere it be long.
My grief is great. The man you know, whose words, if they be true, I will not stay, but will away, and therefore humbly pray you upon my knee to let me go. Seek out my sire and nation, for I do hear I am your heir only by adoption.
That is not so. Thou art our son. This kingdom thou shalt have.
That thou mayst reign with perfect bliss on gods we daily crave.
Resolve my doubt, dear mother mine, for other I know none.
Woe worth the wight that first incensed thy mind hence to be gone, for with great care from mother's womb I princely nourished thee, and train thee up in virtue's love to man's state royally, meaning likewise you should succeed the king in princely chair. Why wilt thou flee, since thou art he that only art our heir? Indeed, adopted son thou art, by chance brought unto us, and of the holes wherein thy feet I called thee Oedipus. From whence thou camest, what friends thou hadst, to inquire we never meant. By miracle, as I surmise, the gods thee to us sent.
Most humble thanks I yield, O queen, for that you do reveal the truth of all things unto me, and nothing to conceal. But mother mine, as you me love and have loved tenderly, give me your license to seek out my friends and my country. I will return, if please the gods, as soon as I can find my sire and country soil wherein is fixed all my mind.
Alack, son Oedipus, how can you find that no man knows? Why should you go and hazard life to aggravate our woes?
The oracle I will consult, some comfort it may bring. Grant license I may go, O father, dear and gracious king.
Apollo's oracle is not assailed without great doubt.
The doubt, though difficult, I will endure to find out. Else let me undergo the doom of bloody Draco's laws, which slothful persons judge to death, and not without good cause.
Polybius rises.
Wilt thou be gone, whom I alone have made my son and heir? What doth thou want? What wouldst thou have? Of whom standst thou in fear?
Sits down again.
I ever thought so rare a wit in time would either bring an incomparable treasure or breed some intolerable thing. By how much more I see the loftier climbing of thy mind, by so much more I fear the fall and injury thou wilt find. The sooner is fine crystal crazed than is the marble hard. The fairest silk is soonest soiled, the finest wit soonest marred. Wit brought with price of woe wise men account somewhat too dear. Better be wise by other harms than after wish we were. Believe me, son, that knows it well, because I have it tried, and tell you now the truth, lest into mischiefs great you slide. A man may live thrice Nestor's years, thrice wander out Ulysses' race, before he gains that which they got, or wins such wit, or find like grace. Where ford is shallow, deep to wade, and break down hedge in open way, were little wisdom, you will think, and far less wit, suppose I may, unless, as Carthage queen told Trojan Aeneas, thou fleest the thing at Chiend, alas! For those that are not done, a kingdom here you may have now, and yet wilt to another run? Beware you do not weave the web of your own woe and pain, and spend the thread of your own thrall before you come again.
As I have will now to desire, and some wit to perceive, so wiser I hope to return, if you will give me leave.
Wit always strives against wisdom, as sea crabs swim against the stream, and oft times plagued with his conceit, unnaturally himself doth maim. What did Ulysses wish in midst of all his travails great, save for to see his own country, and in his own house eat? Did not the Romans say the wandering wight did nothing else than heap up sorrows for their friends and shame unto themselves, resembling those that seek to light a link but quench a lamp?
Your princely speech drives me in dumps, as I were in a damp. Yet, gracious king and father kind, vouchsafe to hear me speak, and your persuasions here to stay, to see me very weak. For though you tasted naught but sour when you a traveller were, it follows not that others should the like misfortune bear. Shall soldiers wounded in the wars give out that all shall be maimed, or slain in bloody broils, or hurt as well as he? Why should the merchant that hath lost great wealth in raging flood, because no other venture should to increase his goods? Then let all men abstain from wine, for that it Alexander vanquished. Let no man love a woman fair, because Tarquin was banished. Where you allege Ulysses wise desired nothing more than see the smoke of Ithaca where he had dwelt before, it was not that he travel loathed, but that he longed to see his loving wife, canonized for her chastity. I am of Alexander's mind. If worlds as many were as there be cities in the world, by Jupiter I swear I will not cease till I have found the country, town, and place where I was born, from whence I came before I see your grace.
Aspiring heads for seldom speed,
but valiant knights no danger dread.
On worthiest wight's fortune doth frown,
yet resolute minds she cast not down.
To travel far is dangerous.
Blind fortune favours the venturous.
Fortune oft drives to great distress,
yet hazard dwells next hardiness.
A green blade which too early shoots is soon bit with black frosts.
Old age no fruit shall reap which bears no blossoms of youth's costs.
Too much drought doth shred the leaves,
and too much moisture chokes the grass.
Wanton wilt use oft deceives,
and doting age his bounds doth pass. But valiant minds on height hoist up their sail.
The more height, the more heinous, if their fortune do fail.
The bruit of brave champions moves me to the same.
The more bruited, the more brutish, if thou fatal under fame.
Forward wits venture far to enjoy their pleasure.
Sterling minds have their will for a time, and repentance at leisure.
Many good gifts work great wonder.
But rash attempts draw kingdoms asunder. The mean state is best void of all travail.
The mean is a mean where excellency is the marvel.
Doth not this kingdom please thy mind?
Yes, if I might my father find.
How canst thou find that no man knows?
Why, the oracle that is at Delphos.
Let the king rise.
Will no fear of danger thee let?
The golden apples for to fet I fear not from the dragon, nor golden fleece with Jason.
And let him sit down.
The sweetest rose his prickle hath, the finest flower his brand, the forward wit his froward ways, some fault in every man. There will no moss stick to the rolling stone of Sisyphus, no grass grows on the sliding heels of swift Mercurius, no butter clean upon his bread that lusts to travel far. Therefore, by such, if thou be wise, my son, thou will beware. For as the eagle at every flight one of his feathers loseth, so the traveller in every soil some fleece foregoeth.
Rises once again. Keep track of these rising. Let's see when he sits down again.
But why do I dissuade a settled man that will away? Thy towardness I must needs love, but frowardness loathe I may. Yet counsel thee I will, as Phoebus did the daring boy, and if thou wilt return again, this land thou shalt enjoy. These precepts bear in mind, let them be as a looking glass. Remember Maro's mention of Trojan Aeneas, who after Anchises his loving father was entombed, desiring to visit him in the Elysian ground. The prophetess Sibylla got to guide him on his way, and of Diana's tree he plucked a sorcering golden spray. This passport he to Charon brought, the ferryman of hell. To ferry him o'er Limbo Lake, a den of devils fell. By these two helps he did achieve his purposed intent. For if thou please, palace and square thy life at her direction, she will allow thee servants too, both hope and diligence. The one to hasten thy affairs, the other to speed thee hence. For Pallas, after the surview of thy worthy exploits, will crown thee with a garland green, adorned with all delights. Then shalt thou wear the wreath of honour, praise and fame, which maugre malice both in life and after death extols thy name. Let never trust betray thee, son, where treason is oust shrouded. Now hope thou not on friends when hap hath thee deceived. Thou seest how steadfastness doth fly with wings of often change, a flying bird, but seldom seen, her nature is so strange. Graft now, my son, and grace will grow. Begin to get, and you shall gain. Thy drooping age shall profit find, if thy unmellowed years take pain. Be chary of thy company, for like will like, men say. Despise not thy inferiors, hurt no man, though thou may. Tell not all thou knowest, believe not all thou hearest. Do not all thou mayest, judge not all thou seest. Learn wisdom of the ancient, but affect not their gravity. Gather wit of wantons, but detest their impiety. Learn manners in courts, but beware curiosity. Spend when time serves, but fly prodigality. Be merry, but with modesty. Be sober, not too sullen. Be valiant, not too venturous, nor with your betters querulous. Condemn not any without proof, suspect not without cause. Be ready to submit thyself to all good rights and laws. Let reason go before every enterprise, and counsel before every action. So shalt thou purchase perfect praise in every town and nation. Son Oedipus, in all thy deeds the cause of evil shun, and thou shalt soon escape the effect of great misfortune.
And someone rises. I don't think it can be the king, because he's already stood up.
Thus I thee leave, not to thyself, but to him that thee made, who bless and guide thee with his grace, and shade thee in his glade. In hope thou wilt venture return, and bear in mind, whilst thou dost live, my fatherly precepts, this chain of gold I do thee give, in token that all virtues should agreeably be chained within thy mind, whereby thy fame may be the more adorned.
And I upon thee will bestow this jewel set with pearl, in princely virtues for a sign, all our others to excel, a ring also to testify the true love I do bear to thee.
Right humble thanks to both I give, and greater I will owe no other means your courtesies to countervail, I know. Your blessings both I humbly crave, whom I have found so dear, your tender care and loving hearts in me doth well appear.
Someone also rises here.
The mighty gods guide right thy paths, preserve thee from all ill.
Dame Pallas with her laurel branch increase thy virtues still.
And exeunt the king and queen.
Stand back! How dare you so presume in presence of a king?
Back your way, sir boy, or off the stage I will thee fling.
But Oedipus remaineth, and will speak in a moment. But there just wasn't really a place to stop. I could have just randomly stopped earlier. Lots of things. These constant references to rising. I mean, it might just be the king, and they just forgot to tell him to sit back down again. Which case, I suppose he just gets slightly higher each time. I don't know. The script is very keen on giving people business. There's, the king obviously has all this constantly getting up and sitting down again. Maybe it's just that they knew what actor they had, and they need to give him something to do. Otherwise, it will go wrong. Now, this is a bit of a switch, Nick, because I thought he didn't know he was at this stage of the story. I thought that he leaves because he doesn't want to kill his father here in a moment. But maybe I'm just getting this muddled again now. Aliki, then Alan.
Yeah, I think you are getting this muddled. I think Emma told us when her character, the gambling boy, he's the one who told Oedipus. He said, "You're adopted." And that's when he found out.
But I seem to recall from Sophocles, he leaves the kingdom because he wants to avoid killing his father, and that's the motivation for him to leave.
Yeah.
And that he's then told he's adopted later on, and that's why he never comes back. In terms of the Sophocles and the version you get in Euripides, I mean, this version seems to be giving him a totally different motivation. For leaving, that it's I want to find my real father. But I could be wrong. I'm that's just what my memory is. Francis, before I go to Alan.
Yeah, as I recall, having actually been in a production of the Sophocles version, he doesn't go to the Oracle of Delphi after he leaves Corinth. He goes and sees the oracle while he's still Prince of Corinth. And it's the oracle who tells him he's going to kill his father. And that's when he leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my memory.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no reason why there might be a different version flying around, or B, that this author's just decided that's the motivation he's going with. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fine. The story still, broadly speaking, holds together. I quite like this version of the story of just going, no, we're your parents. It's fine. It doesn't matter what you were adopted, but we still love you. And it's actually really nice. And again, I think I'll go to Alan before I go on to my next point.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking it's internally consistent because effectively the other lad has taunted Oedipus. And this is mummy and daddy basically trying to be caring parents and saying, yeah, okay, that's the real story, but we still love you. But it's also giving him another motivation because Polybius is obviously a crashing bloody bore the length he goes on with this life advice crap.
I mean, his son's leaving to, go on his travels. He wants to give him all the best advice he can. I mean, that's, and you have this massive speech following on from the Stickomythia rap battle, as it's been described in the chat. I don't know who made that one. But yeah, they're sort of attacking each other with proverbs. And I say we've been recently reading John Hayward's battle with proverbs, and it feels like that. This is a thing that you do with children. It's part of their education, is that you throw proverbs at them and get them to throw arguments back and forth in this sort of pseudo debatey kind of thing that's going on here. Sarah.
I wonder if all the rising in the stage directions. I mean, I don't know if this is what they had in mind, but certainly it made me think that you could actually, to break up that big advice speech, you could have Polybius just sort of standing up to say, to deliver a bit of advice, and then he sort of sits down and then he goes, oh, like, wait, another, and he stands up again and he delivers some more advice, and then he sits back, like, oh, and I haven't quite finished yet, and does a bit more. And I mean, depending on the actor, that comedy business could become kind of hilarious. It could turn that speech around and make it quite funny in a way, but also keep the kind of the sweetness of the fact that it's the father, giving his son good advice before he sets off.
Yeah, I mean, again, this whole question of tone, this doesn't feel like a tragedy. At any point does this feel like terrible things are going to go down. It's quite nice. I'm really liking all these people. They're really nicely drawn. Oedipus has got a bit of a temper, but he's sort of moderately interesting. His father is... And I wonder, is his father actually intended to be slightly comic in this sense? Is he supposed to be? Rather than he's giving genuinely marvellous advice, rather than he's ready to know book. Sarah.
Yeah, I can see him being played by the late great Richard Briers, like sort of kind of quite bumbly and sort of, oh yeah, and and let me tell you this, and he's definitely a sweet character, but I think a comedy one as well, or at least could be, you could play him that way.
Okay. So Oedipus remains. The tipstaves have cleared the space, apart from Oedipus, who they've just said they'll chuck him off if he doesn't get a shift on, which is quite nice. But anyway, Oedipus remaineth and speaketh.
Now liberty is granted me to walk away I lust, but first of... Oh, I got that all wrong. Now liberty is granted me to walk what way I lust, but first of all, the oracle at Delphos go I must. The god Apollo's famous temples built, called Delphicus, upon a high mountain in Greece named Parnassus. The devil there doth answers give by woman unto men. There shall I learn both where and when my father I shall find, or country, sire, and parentage still lieth all my mind. What should I fear by travelling far? Experience is got to furnish me a great store of gold, and jewels I want not. But here methinks I see the place that I long sore to find. Here's Delphos dawn, there's oracle set. Both these please well my mind.
Kneel down.
O potent Phoebe, Apollo wise, grant to answer without doubt, whereby I may my father know, and find my country out.
Music coming up and down. One comes out of a cloud and answers, and after answering goeth up again.
The mighty God Apollo heard thy prayer and request, and sent me down through cloudy skies to show thee his behest. At Phocis thou shalt meet thy sire, in Greece a city fair, called Thebes there is, from thence thou camest, doubtless thou wast born there.
Both Thebes and Phocis I'll seek out, no danger shall me stay, as soon as I have harmed myself for perils in the way.
And exit, leaving us with the chorus.
In man's affairs blind fortune bears great sway, and chance oft sends that cunning cannot bring. This Oedipus by chance was found, I say, and now by chance is like to be a king. By chance he found Polybius, not his sire. By chance he brawled with young Europhilus, whose bitter words so set his heart on fire, that he refused to stay with Polybius. The answer of the oracle was this, which he found true too soon in passing thither, that he should see his father at Ephesus, where in Apollo's church was built, and whither King Lauus came, whom there unawares he killed, amidst the press of folks in a tumult. So was the oracle on sire fulfilled, which he at city Delphos did consult, not knowing now he had slain a king. He thought the oracle had him deceived, therefore to Thebes with fury his minds to fling, that where he the web of his own woes soon weaved, then chance we see bears sway in every place, and turns at will man's slippery state. Strive not in haste to climb the whirling wheel, for hasty climbers oft in haste do reel.
And exit. We get an oracle coming out of a cloud. I resisted the traditional winch sound effect of just for the moment, but I mean, it's a nice moment. I'm liking. There's a sense of what this visually looks like. That there were effects, and they've got music. It's coming up and down. Music tends to do that. Otherwise, it's very atonal. It's just. So yeah. The story continues to move on. The chorus is starting to bring me down a bit. Chorus is taking off my buzz here. Aliki.
I mean, it's killing my buzz too. If you're going to set up all of this father killing, I think the least you can do is put it on stage. Have it referenced by the chorus.
Yeah, especially as this play is quite keen on putting things on stage. It's interesting what it's choosing to show and what it's choosing not to show. Francis?
Well, that in a sense is a tradition of ancient Greek tragedy. A lot of events are very important events shown on stage. I mean, the Sophocles version of this play. The palace messenger comes running on at the end and just describes the suicide of Jocasta and the gouging out of Oedipus's eyes. So in a sense, it is part of the tradition.
Yeah, I mean that said, in another rewriting of Greek history, the Polypian Secundus. I might have got that Polypodarum Secundus, very odd play. Adds in all the stuff that happens off stage to Euripides, so it's like Clytemnestra gets brutally murdered on stage. Everybody gets brutally with some really wonderfully over the top melodramatic lines, which are basically "Die, hideous creature, die!" That's not an exact quote. That's actually from a Doctor Who comic strip from the 1968, but but it's that kind of thing. So yeah, it's one of those things that in adaptation they sometimes are a little more enthusiastic, shall we say, but not here. Sarah.
I mean, would they have shown it though? I mean, while the chorus is doing its chorusy thing, there could have been a dumb show going on in the background that shows him sort of like accidentally bumping into his dad and knocking him over. It's like, oops, sorry, oh my god, he's dead.
Yeah,
like
could be.
Yeah.
The stage directions do seem to be giving us visual detail, though, so I might... But that's not to say we couldn't do it if we were going to do this, which increasingly I'm tempted it has to be said. It's got to be done with school children, though. I don't think you could sensibly do this with adults. I think this would be one to find a youth group to do it with, because it does speak to me on that level, and I'm enjoying it on that level. Anyway, we need to move on. Act 1, Scene 5, Constable and Crier. Famous figures from Greek tragedy. The constable hath a letter and proclamation in his hand. Let the crier stand upon a stool.
Late yesterday night, these letters came from court by post, which speedily must be proclaimed in every town and coast. The king's commandment must be done. Make therefore this proclamation.
Who is the crier? Sarah, you are the crier. And we've had this crier game before as well in other plays, so this hopefully should be fun.
Where shall I stand? What shall I say?
Stand on this stool and cry as loud as thou may after me.
So it shall be.
Say, oh yes, 3 times.
Say, oh yes, 3 times.
Thou must cry, oh yes, thrice.
You have written false there twice.
What's that to thee?
Oh, sir, I cry you mercy.
Go to say, oh yes.
Go, sirs, this is a feast.
This knave would sit in the stocks.
This slave longs for some knocks.
Cry, oh yes, as at a proclamation.
Man and beast of every form and faction.
I think the boy be drunk.
No, man, your wits be shrunk.
Then say, oh yes, thrice.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes.
All manner of men of what country or nation.
Gander, goose and hen with all your procreation.
What's that?
All manner of men of what country or nation.
Draw near and hear this proclamation.
See you appear with all festination.
The fool mars the play.
A fool so doth say.
Come down and be hanged. What rule is this?
Pull the crier off the stool in anger.
To hang but a while would anger you, sir, a wis.
Either speak as thou should, or go get another.
If he would have let me, I would fain have gone further. But now, in good earnest.
The constable read, and he says after him, so for Zoom purposes, we won't do that, because it's chaos. Just constable read this out.
All manner of men, and of what country or nation, draw near and hear this proclamation. The city of Thebes, with all her precincts, is marvellously infected with a monster called Sphinx, propounding riddles and questions obscure, feeding on man's flesh and virgins pure, devouring as many as cannot assoil her difficult questions couched with great guile. To him that assoils her riddles and rids the country from fear of this ugly monster is promised the marriage of Queen Jocasta and the kingdom of Thebes to enjoy for his labour, and at Kingston Crow of the Thames to hang in a halter. Yet more rye?
Yes, and there might be some textual issues there. Oedipus enters at the end of the proclamation. Oedipus comes in armed.
Of the kingdom of Thebes, etc., I should have said. But I thought wedding and hanging went by destiny.
Exit Crier.
Friend, what meaneth this proclamation? Where stands that city whereof thou made mention?
Here is the one which you may see, the other is well known to me.
Canst thou assure me to enjoy that kingdom and the queen, if by my means that monster fell again, be never seen?
I warrant you, if that be done, you shall be crowned king. I will direct your way some part, and towards Thebes you bring.
Point to the rock where the Sphinx lies.
Upon yon rock the monster lies, which daily many spoils. Man, maid, and child that walk the woods or climb the hills she foils. This monster head and hands hath like a maid, the body of a dog, wings like a fowl, her nails like lion fierce make men afraid, and like a dragon fell her tail doth roll. A voice she hath as big as any man, she long hath lived, no force destroy.
Pulls Oedipus back.
But stand, I see an armoured knight goes towards the Sphinx apace. I must away. Here you may stay in some odd secret place.
Let Oedipus stand aside.
I will attend to see the end, and after, without fail, whate'er betide, I will abide, and with the monster deal.
A monster fell, I hear, doth haunt upon these craggy hills, whose force and might no man can daunt. She daily many kills. I'll see her face, I'll try her force, provided I am well, with sword and shield and armour strong, this monster for to quell.
Spying the monster.
What wight art thou darest so provoke, whose force is such that all men fears and flees? Thy shield, thy sword, thy strength I naught regard, for many thousands I have reft of life. Thy wisdom deep, thy subtle shifts to find my riddles out, shall soon put me to flight.
Let the knight offer to go forward.
Not 1 foot further see you pass this way, unless this riddle then to me essay. That did beget, begotten, was again.
That did beget, begotten was again. I do not truly know what it doth mean, but with the sword full soon I'll prove what thy force is and strength, a number of men thou hast slain, and shall be slain at length.
Let fire come out of her tail. That's one for your local drama department. Lift up your hand to strike and fall backwards and say...
Jove, this monster men enchant, and so destroys them all!
Let Sphinx draw him away.
Did I not tell thee, wit, not strength, would soonest cause me fall?
And she speaks now from the rock. This part of the text may contain more textual errors than other bits.
These passages I keep. No man doth pass this way, but I him kill and eat, unless the questions I propound he can expound, which if he do, he shall me overcome. Much like Procustes and Scyron, who framed a bed of brass to their bigness, and caused it to be placed as lodge for passengers, so that there could now pass that way, but he was forced to take the measure of their sheets. For if the bed too long he were, his legs they did cut off, for catching cold, but if too short they racked him at length, so that there neither was a place for Ingus long, no pallet for a silly little dwarf. The toil is set to take the deer, the hook to hang the fish, the lime twig for the bird, and I to spoil all them that pass this way. Enchantments these I use, Pyretum pure, the herb, and Anacam fortis likewise, Caricin moistened with lizard's blood. There is a bone in the frog's side called a pocaicon, and in the head of a young colt a bounch named Hippomanes. Thistle aringen I pass, the herbs Carcanenci and Pitevma I leave, yet will I not forget the Mithridate of the magicians, no quintessence of necromancers, for I use syrups of Micaomas and of Dipsas, the satyrin, the lungs of vulture's paunch, the brains of an old cat, and 7 hairs of the beast hyena, the enchanted needle, Medea head in Jason stew. These charms and conjurations I use. What exorcisms or incantation can be devised but I have found it out? Whether it be a leaf well enchanted, or a verse of Pythia, or a figure of Amphion, or a branch of Sibylla, or else the characters of Oskianes.
Speaking to Oedipus.
But where wilt thou wend that comes this way?
To the city of Thebes with all the haste I may.
No passage here thou getst, unless thou tell the sense of riddle I'll propound to thee. And if thou canst, I will know. I think that should be can. And if thou canst, I will no longer live. What living creature creeps out of the earth in the morning on 4 feet, at noon on 2, at night on 3, and sometimes 4 again hath, when it goes from whence at first it came?
Thou monstrous beast, to mankind mortal foe, thy doom be done, if I this riddle not a solve upon me fiercely run. This creature is man, who being in his infancy creeps on all 4s, much like a beast, with 4 feet carelessly, growing to strength in middle age, on to legs he doth go. In age for 3rd leg staff he take, and help to ease his woe.
Then Sphinx casts herself from off the rock, roaring, and breaks her neck.
Her head to Thebes I would have had in sign of victory, if she for grief had not cast down herself from rock so high. To the immortal gods great thanks I give, and ever will, who have delivered me from Sphinx, which multitudes did kill.
Exit. Music. Trumpets. Chorus.
Aspiring minds soar to the skies aloft, and oft times suddenly fall down again. Most mighty monarchs are obtained oft, obtained soon lost, with griping grief and pain. Young Oedipus, the monster, put to flight, so came to Thebes, and there was crowned king. The queen he wed as promised was, and right, his own mother, yet not of these knowing. In passing joy and great prosperity, these potent princes lived and long did reign. 2 sons they had, 2 daughters of such beauty as made their parents inwardly full fain. But now, alas, so fortune's wheel doth turn, this famous prince, mid flood of earthly bliss, by secret judgments the gods does burn, and inwardly extremely plagued is. And for his sake, though he thereof not knows, in strangest guise is spoiled the commonality, most miserably with flowing flood of woes. Transformed is the face of the city. His priests and prophets home he calls with speed, by whom in great distress for present aid he asketh counsel of the gods with dread, who answer forthwith gave to him, and said, the plague should never cease through all the land, till time King Laius' death revenged were, and driven into exile out of hand, might be the bloody cruel murderer. This answer had by prince and prophets all, King Oedipus more curious than wise, or careful of his own estate and fall, especially in extreme miseries, is plunged piteously in waves of woe, and boils with view of his misguided life. His guilty conscience is his greatest foe, he wounded is with sin in him most rife, as you shall hear and see very grievous, and for remorse may well lament the same. that princely pomp and fame so glorious, eclipsed should be with misery and shame.
And exit. I think Oedipus got lucky there because I think he got the easier riddle. I don't know what the riddle of the previous riddle was. Does anyone know what that means? That did beget, begotten was again. Anyone know the answer to that one? We're all screwed if we're the knight because we're dead. I mean, the other one's really easy.
Only because we know it.
Only
because we know it. I mean that.
Yeah, but you've got more data. The other one's so short. It could be anything. It's not. There's something to go on. Though of course the Sphinx, because it was so badly punctuated or absently punctuated, the stresses came out slightly weirdly. But there's nothing we can do about that. At this particular read, anyway. So yeah, I quite like this. We have the Crier Constable gag, which we've had in other plays of the Crier just deliberately messing up whatever the Constable says. And yeah, I like that as a game. It's a good game. It's quite nicely done. It doesn't do it too long. It's a nice bit. I also like that we have an armoured knight who gets killed first, and that we get flaming tails. Which suggests that that's actually sensible on a costuming point of view, because if you tried to do it with breathing fire, that's near where the actor would be speaking. But if you do it on the tail, and it's quite aimable as well, so that's Sphinx brings around its tail, fires it like a cannon. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see how they did that, and how many died. I don't know. Sarah,
I'd love to see you do it with a load of school children.
Yeah, I suspect that might be an issue with today. I think health and safety might say no on that one. I don't know. Smoke machine up through the tail, I think is more likely, isn't it? So yeah. But yeah, again, sort of enjoying this. It's filling in interesting. It's choosing interesting things to fill in. We get the riddle of the Sphinx, and the Sphinx roars and breaks her neck. So that's a bit awkward. It depends how high the rock is. But it does say, rock was so high. Don't know if that means just so high. I don't know. Anyway, any other thoughts in the room, Francis?
Yeah, a couple of things. I thought it was interesting because I've always assumed there was just one riddle. And then nobody could get it. I didn't, but it makes sense. There would be the Sphinx would have several riddles up her sleeve.
Yeah, well, she's obviously went to the riddle shop and got a book. And is working their way through it, because otherwise, people might be listening from a distance, writing it down, going, "Okay, well, we can go and figure that one out later." But no, different one, and it's a zinger. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, no, I haven't finished.
No, carry on, Francis.
Yeah. I was also expecting a bit more deliberation from Oedipus in solving the riddle. I mean, he got it pretty quickly. I mean, okay, you're right. It's an easy riddle, and as Alan says, we all know it anyway. But I was just expecting, given this writer's verbosity in other parts of the play, I was expecting a bit more reflection, shall we say.
What have I got in my pockets is then Aliki.
Yeah, she doesn't just go to the riddle shop. She goes to the potions shop. She's got it all, hasn't she? I found that really interesting because I'm not familiar with the original, but like she had a real witchy vibe going on, which I wasn't expecting, and I did really enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, this might be the first depiction of the Sphinx in. I don't think it appears in any other dramatic texts anywhere else. So it might be our first Sphinx. Who knows? Answers on a postcard if you know of earlier versions of the Sphinx. But as I say, it doesn't tend to, I think, appear in the canon that we have, the classical canon. Aliki.
Just to agree with Francis about the timing, it took Oedipus about 4 times as long to get permission from his foster parents to go adventuring than it did to have the scene with the Sphinx.
Anticipation. Okay, we're going to go on to our next scene. Act 1, Scene 6. Thriftless and Careless enter, but Thriftless first with a song. This song must be sung to the tune of Sellinger's Round. So, okay, that's good. Let him fling his satchel of books away.
Farewell, adieu, these books of mine. To wander I do mean. To go to school now is no time. I'll never learn again. But lustily and carelessly my pastime I will take. Now here, now there, and never where to abide account I make. Now shall I leave the school full soon, which off I have bide paid, and care not though I sleep till noon, of rod am not afraid. Plague so sore increases more amongst our citizens here, that some have fled and many dead, and yet I little fear. A proverb old I heard of told, and now have found it right. No wind so ill, no frost so cold, but some man profit might. For other high most dolefully their parents for to bury, with hands wringing and tears trundling, they sorrow. I am merry, for naught I have, unless I crave, unless it be to play. Take thought, who lust I merry must be all the livelong day. This is my song, I'll not be long, for play day still I wish, and come day, go day, God send night, to me is daintiest dish.
And Careless cometh in at the end of the song.
What, Tom Thriftless? What madest thou here?
God's wounds, Cuddy Careless, welcome, drawn here.
By the mass, I have long sought thee, some news thee to tell.
God's soul, what news? Is the devil in hell?
In faith thou art merry, but this is the matter. Dost thou not hear? Thriftless, every boy doth clatter of leaving the school and out of town to go, to shift for himself. Boy, the truth is so.
Nay, but Cuddy Careless, this talk has no grace. For if you call me boy, I will lay thee on thy face.
Offers to strike.
What? Hold thy hand, as far as I can see. We be boys both, therefore let us agree.
Boy? Nay, I'll tell thee, though I be but small, yet Cuddy Careless, a good heart is worth all. And have I not a man's heart, that this great plague do not fear? Yet Careless, I warrant thee, and that thou shouldst hear, if Tom Thriftless mind thou move unto ire, coals never burn till they be set on fire.
Yea, but if they burn, so that they flame, the water Thriftless the burning can tame. But tell me, I pray thee, whither are you walking, and what's the cause of your merry singing? Since all men sorrow and cry, well away, and thou singest as merrily as a popinjay.
Why should not I sing and merry make, for joy that the school I must forsake? And now without fear I live at mine ease, walking and wandering where I best please. And yet a good master fain would I get, if happily such fish would light in my net.
As fit for a master, Thriftless, thou art, in faith, as a bee is to draw a cart. He's like to be manned on whom thou shalt wait, unless at meal times to get thee some meat. For when on thy master attending, thou shouldst be amongst the boys playing, he may seek for thee, for that for any master thou'lt get for the good waiting. Thou mayst keep geese on the green from breaking their teeth with grazing.
God's wounds, heart and nails, you are a Franian. Come off with a mischief, my gentle companion. By your sleen, Cuddy Careless, I think that I be as fit for a master as ever were ye.
He hath learned his lesson, but of sooth I fear he has quite forgotten the way for to swear. Wounds, heart and nails, marry here's no lad. He be not hanged, he will run stark mad.
Hang me no hanging if you be so quick. Rub not too hard, lest Thriftless kick.
Had better be still and asleep in his bed, if a kick me may chance break his head.
Flout Thriftless on the lips.
God's blood, good man Careless, begin you to flout me?
No, pretty fig boy, he doth but lout thee. What, Thriftless, I say, are you angered at jest? In faith, good man Lobcock, you are handsomely dressed.
Flout him again.
God's wounds, so to flout me, thou art much to blame.
Why, all that I do, man, is but in game.
It is all waking a sleeping day, and such boyish rascality please not me.
Thou croak'st boldly like a frog. Alas, rope pipe, rascal did him to thee.
Flout him.
My cold collar is kindled with thy hot flouting.
Give Careless a box.
Therefore, take that for thy jesting, and flout me no more.
By Gog's body, for that one blow thou shalt have a score, and then do the worst that ever thou can. For now I will try whether is the better man.
Let them fight with fists. Careless, fling Thriftless down.
Gog's wounds, thou art the bigger, yet I care not a point. If to be revenged, I jeopard a joint.
I have roiled the well already, but I hold thee great threat. If thou meddle again with me, I will swing. A puttock set fast on up perch hard by a falcon's side will quickly show himself a kite that dare not long abide.
Indeed, I must needs say I have now caught the worst. But I will be revenged, or else I shall burst. If time did not call me from hence to depart, I would by Gog's flesh anger all the veins of thy heart. Therefore, farewell, Cuddy, till another day. But here'st thou take that to spend by the way.
Give him a good box and run out.
Gog's nails, is he gone? Nay, after I will, and of the slave by Gog's heart I will have my fill. A botch is on his breech and scabby person. God keep him from sickness till sores him consume.
Exit and music. So yes, as we all remember this scene from Greek mythology, this a very important scene. I just love this. It's a school's out for plague. This is the only sort of cue in for this. It's just going, there's plague, everyone's dying, so I'm just going to skip school. And so then we have some kids hitting each other. I mean, this is all very familiar kind of stuff that we've seen from sort of school plays. And again, earlier, this doesn't feel like it's from the late 1590s. Tonally, texturally, it feels like it's from the 1560s. I mean, it goes to show that, not everything is at the cutting edge. That, the kind of plays that are perhaps still being performed at schools and being written by schoolmasters are, in different parts of the country, might have be slightly out of step with what else is going on. Or also that this kind of performance is still going on even whilst other theatres, companies are doing much different work, and we just don't have those texts, so we're not getting the variety of texts surviving. We've got a play in 14ers in the towards the end of the 16th century. We don't have many of them to the pound in the 1590s, but maybe they're still very current, and we just don't have them. Alan,
I'm just wondering whether we're getting some of the same sort of thing we've seen in the Boys' Company plays, of small units of action with different actors who could be rehearsed separately and then push the thing together, because there's virtually no thematic link between this sequence, this two-hander we've had here and the preceding material. And the Constable and Crier scene, again, have very much the feel of, this is a sketch which we've got two lads who've worked it up and it worked quite nicely, so we'll bung it in.
Well, I think it's that structural thing of the tutor working with a couple of boys at a time. The possibility of getting the entire company together all the boys at one time is clearly going to be chaos. It's much easier if you only have to work with 2 or 3 of them at any one time, and that the younger boys only get an individual scene that they can drill into them and get right, and then once the slightly older actor gets to play Oedipus and have a through line. But yeah, this is totally random and doesn't really take us anywhere from Sphinx land and the rather depressing chorus to this just random boys hitting each other, and that's basically what the scene's about. 2 boys hit each other for a while. Hilarious. Casual violence.
You can see the parents sitting in the front row saying, "Oh, Johnny did well. Glad he won there."
Yeah. So we're going to go into the very beginning of Act 2 now. We're going to let this run a little bit into the action here. Ignore the stage direction that turns up on, or not stage direction, but the note on the text that's lineated to the right. We won't read that out loud. We'll just let the tipstaves speak and go straight into Oedipus and Jocasta, and we'll just let that run a little bit. So Act 2, Scene 1, Oedipus the King and Jocasta Queen enter with 2 tipstaves.
Give room with speed, all you that tread. The hurt of Prince's sudden ire, his sudden sadness fears us all, and sets our hearts on fire.
The joyful mirth and merry cheer these princes had of late is turned into a morning dole, and like to make debate.
The night is gone, and dreadful day begins at length to appear, and Phoebus, all bedimmed with clouds, himself aloft doth rear, and gliding forth with deadly hue, a doleful blaze in skies doth bear, great terror and dismay to the beholder's eyes. Now shall the houses void be seen, with plague devoured quite, and slaughter that the night hath made shall day bring forth to light. Doth any man in princely throne rejoice? Oh, brittle joy! How many ills! How fair a face! And yet how much annoy in thee doth lurk, and hidden lies, what heaps of endless strife! They judge amiss that deem the prince to have the happy life. For as the mountains huge and high the blustering winds withstand, and craggy rocks the belching floods do dash and drive for land, though that the seas in quiet are, and calm on every side, so kingdoms great all winds and waves of fortune must abide. How well shunned I my father dear Polybius' sceptres late, exiled, bereft of careful fear, in pilgrim's happy state! I call the gods to witness this, and stars that glide in skies. A kingdom is befallen to me, I fear least. Therefore rise a mischief, mighty Jove, too great, I fear. Alas, I fear lest these my hands have reft the life of thee, my father dear. Apollo bids me this beware, and yet a mischief more foretells.
Can any greater be than that you told before, of father slain by son's own hand?
O thrice unhappy state! With horror all dismayed I stand in dread of threatened fate. I am ashamed, my destinies foul, O queen, to thunder out, and openly to blaze my fear, my trembling mind doth doubt. Yet out it goes. Phoebus bids me my mother's bed to fly, as though that I, her son, with her incestuously should lie. This fear, and only this, me caused my father's kingdom great for to forsake. I fled not thence when fear the mind doth beat. The restless thought still dreads the thing it knows can never chance. Such fancies now torment my heart, my safety to advance, and eke thine ever sacred laws, O nature, for to keep a stately sceptre I forsook. Yet secret fear doth creep within my breast, and frets it still, with doubt and discontent, and inward pangs which secretly my thoughts asunder rent. So though no cause of dread I see, yet fear and dread I all, and scant in credit with myself, my thoughts, my mind appall. That I cannot persuaded be, though reason tell me no, but that the web is weaving still of my decreed woe. For what should I suppose the cause? A plague that is so general, and Cadmus' country wholly spoils, and spreads itself through all, should me amongst so huge a heap of plagued bodies spare, and we alone among the rest reserved to mischiefs are?
And I'm going to stop you there because if you listeners, viewers at home, want to hear more from this particular text, of course, we have now drifted into Seneca's Oedipus as translated by Alexander Neville. Link to that is probably coming out in the title card at the end of this video, but otherwise it will be in the show description. You may even be watching this on a playlist that will have that video following on directly after this. So yeah, we have crossed the picket line from the boys. The play written for boys to the play stolen from Seneca, his 10 Tragedies, and yes, the play. I have checked that those lines that we've done are definitely there. From this point onwards, I don't know what the division of labour is, and that's for another future session when we'll figure that out. But it would be fair to say that we noticed a slight tonal shift. Aliki.
I mean, it's not even possible to play the same Oedipus. I started out trying to stick to the characterization I had come up with for the previous play, and it just doesn't work.
There's also a massive continuity error.
I mean, yes, obviously. The complete contradiction of the reasons he gave in the previous play for why he left.
Yeah, the Oracle didn't mention any of this. Because Phoebus bids my mother bed to fly, and I thought, hang on, I don't recall that. Let's just go back and check what the Oracle said. No, just go and search for your go to Thebes. That's all it said. It's literally all the Oracle said was basically go to Thebes in this version. So, I mean, not even basic continuity. He's just not trying, is he? So, interesting. I'm torn because I really was enjoying this school play, and now it hits a totally different text. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head if actually the Oedipus works. I think actually it's one that sort of does. We looked at all the Seneca and sort of made a rough idea of the ones that with heavy cutting might land okay. Oedipus might be one of them. It might not. I am not sure. Go watch that video. Past me will tell you. I don't know. I mean, bits of it I quite like. It's just that they are very extra, and they do go on for a very long time about how sad they are, and it gets a bit wearing. But yeah, you just can't. It's like someone's just come in and punched you in the face. Be sad. It's like the kids have all just been freighted off and some adults sort of wander on, which I suppose sort of makes sense. Oedipus is older now. I don't know. It's weird. It's just the way Tipstaff 1 and Tipstaff 2 come on, and then it's like there's no connection at all. I could cope if they hadn't entered, actually. I could have cope and said, Act 2, different tone. But no, they're announced by the comedy tipstaves. God. Sarah.
We'll never know. But I wonder, I'm sort of idly wondering if the bit that we've just read, the first act, effectively, was written... I mean, I don't know who Aristotle Knowsley was, but like whether it was written by a schoolmaster to sort of get his pupils into the idea of reading Oedipus, and like, oh, we're going to do a play and we're going to perform it, and then you're going to read the actual text, but we'll just do this as an introduction, and they're all like really kind of into it, and then they get to the bit that he actually wants them to study and learn, and it's like, oh right, okay, we're doing this now.
I do actually know that because I did do a youth company production of Oedipus, and it actually that was sort of the reaction in the sense that until they actually got to the first performance, they were sort of going, what is this? Why are we doing? I don't. And it was like you did the first performance and went, oh, this is actually good. Oh, yeah, and it's yeah. So having that, it's not a bad plan actually. I have to say, if that was the logic behind it, I don't know. I suspect it just went. Well, we didn't see the Sphinx. Everyone want to see the Sphinx, won't they? I'll write the Sphinx. I've got some other. They'll want an oracle. We've got an oracle set up actually. We got a cloud from last year. We'll write a bit for the cloud. So so. I don't know how it came into it, but it's just like there's no attempt for this to match at all. It's not trying. I mean, I quite like the idea of just doing Act 1 as a weird standalone piece of just setting up and then you can watch another version of Oedipus at your leisure, because it does. The boys come on as the plague starts, so it is a prelude to most versions of Oedipus, as it usually starts with the plague. So it could be done as a sort of weird standalone, I suppose. It's long enough, to be fair. It's a decent one actor. Francis, then Aliki.
Yeah, this reminds me of something. I've got to be careful what I say here, because you could split the two and do this kind of the first bit on one night in the theatre, and then do the Sophocles version or the Sophocles translation on another night, because it reminds me that Laurence Olivier and Vivian Leigh did Shaw's Caesar and Cleopatra on one night, and then they did the sequel by another writer on
another text that
they did the two on alternative.
They did Samuel Daniels' Cleopatra the other night. That's the one, isn't it? That's the one you're thinking of. Samuel Daniels, definitely. That's the one you're thinking of.
Oh right, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It double bill with Mary Sidney's translation of the Tragedy of Antony. Yeah, it's a common double bill.
Yeah, I mean those two plays are very different in tone as well.
Yes, and no, I like the idea to demarcate them totally. I mean, to actually do that one act as with kids, and then you get some adult actors to come on and do the Seneca. Or do or the sixth form as opposed to the younger years, and that would be a nice division, because I just don't like the idea of just presenting them together, because it's just it just doesn't work. I mean, again, I don't know what the rest of the text is going to be doing later on, but I suspect it's basically just big chunk of this and a big chunk of that, with maybe the tipstaves turn up again. I don't know yet. I don't know. Sorry, Aliki.
So, because I'm a bit slow, this thing that we've just read, which here says from Oedipus by Seneca, translated by Alexander Neville, that is the next thing that they did.
Yeah, that's where the text just continues.
Words.
Those words. That's the next bit of the text.
Okay.
So basically, what the schoolmaster did was he wrote Act 1, and then he got the translation as published as His 10 Tragedies by Seneca, translated by Alexander Neville, and then he wrote out all the stuff. He just copied it out up to a point, and then later on he mixes in some bits from Thebais as translated by Thomas Newton as well. So there's two plays, Senecan plays, mushed together in some fashion. Again, I don't know because I haven't got that far, but basically this is the original bit that possibly Aristotle Knowsley, we don't know, that's an attribution, wrote to open it out. He might have written some more linking material, but I don't think it's substantive. That's all I know at this time, because it's quite fiddly trying to figure out where the text goes.
I'm scrolling through and I do not see any more tipstaves.
Oh no, that's because I haven't made that. All I've done is take the version we read before, and I plucked it down. I haven't done. Basically, you read up to the point where I've checked that the two texts match. I'm taking it on authority from other people, because as I say, I haven't got a full transcription of the text, because I wasn't going to do that to Helen. I wasn't going to do that to her. Okay, final thoughts quickly from around the room. I think we've got a handle on this one. It's a big shiny handle. I don't know what kind of handle it is. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. it's very curateig. There are some bits which could possibly do with a bit of pruning. But I mean, the rap battle of the proverbs was quite interesting. The sort of the random fight sequence with the two lads was quite fun. The Constable and Crier was quite fun. Absolutely damn all to do with the main drive of the plot, but fun in their own as a sketch show.
Oh, no, the Crier and the Constable was trying to tell everyone about the riddle of the Sphinx. I mean, it was a very important part of the narrative, he said. Francis, any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mishmash, as we've said, but I've enjoyed it. And as Alan said earlier, there's some lovely language in it. I like the comedy bits, except the punch-up between the two schoolboys. You could jettison that quite easily, I think.
Emma, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoyed reading this. It's obviously got a bit of an odd tone for Oedipus, as it's very, very funny, but that doesn't mean I haven't enjoyed it. Yeah, I do feel that it's kind of maybe written for juniors in the first half and the seniors in the second. I'm kind of imagining the Crier particularly as a very small kid, like year 1 or something. And I think that would be very funny. It'd be very small. Yeah, and I really like the character of the Sphinx, especially how Sarah read it. I think it's very hypnotic. Yeah, the language is brilliant in this.
Aliki, any final thoughts?
Yeah, like others, I've really enjoyed the language, and I mean, it's a fun comedy about incest, suicide, and self-harm. What's not to like?
It really is setting an audience up for a fall if they don't know how this thing works. I mean, if they're expecting the tone to remain consistent, they're in for a horrible surprise. Sarah, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think to expand on what Aliki just said, I think you could market this as like, oops, Oedipus. You could sort of really play up the comedy, and turn it into something. Actually, when the Sphinx fell off the rock and broke her neck, the thing that flashed into my mind, there's that urban myth about the bouncing Tosca, who
Yes.
who she goes off and they've replaced her mattresses with a trampoline, and so she just keeps bouncing back up again. I mean, you could throw in all kinds of ridiculous comedy business, because this is very, very entertaining, and I actually think audiences would love it. I think people who didn't know the story, like modern audience, people who didn't know the story of Oedipus would love it, and people who did know it and were kind of knew the Sophocles would actually love it too, because it's the story that the ancient Greeks didn't write.
Though for clarity, I should point out this is based on the Euripides via Seneca.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Euripides, not Sophocles.
Though the Sophocles is better, let's be honest. It's the far better version. Anyway, so if you want to continue and find out what they nicked stuff from, then do go on and have a little look at Seneca's Oedipus as translated by Alexander Neville. Link will be probably popping up about now on the screen, probably in a corner if I do this right. Otherwise, it will be a random video for something about, I don't know, shoes. I don't know. All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye.
The brains of an old cat.